Okay, so let's see. Make sure this is on. Check this out. Let's see. Start a poll. Start a Q&A. That's if people want to ask questions and stuff like that, but this is just to do it in this manner. For some reason, it's like kind of cut off. I don't know why that is. But it's just to chit chat with people a bit. Nothing too crazy. It's not going to be a long one, but if people got questions and stuff, they can always go ahead and ask. Just trying to try this out. Just doing it like as a more, see if I could do like a more mobile thing. Because most of the time I am in my studio or office, basically doing these lives. That way, I have my screen enabled and the opportunity to be able to speak to people, but do it in a manner that I can do it that way. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it picks up a bunch of people. Sometimes it doesn't, depending on how it goes. But it's just certain things it's just like to address. I guess it's the easiest way. There's been a lot of I've been receiving a lot of comments. A bunch of people have been I have hidden users. I have blocked some users, just because of the fact that it's just like on this channel. It is basically we are trying to make veterans aware. We are trying to bring light to information that they may not know, they may not be paying attention to, or they might not have the answers to. If most people don't notice when it comes to my responses and answers to people, I don't tend to answer people that make stupid justifications. If they make stupid justifications, I'll let you be ignorant. You can stay ignorant, you can stay dumb, you can stay uneducated. If you want assistance from me, all you're doing is asking questions that can help you with your disability claims, your entitlements, your exemptions, and stuff like that. It's basically, I do this to assist veterans. Now, we're not going to always see eye to eye on things. I understand that. The issue that I have is that with a lot of veterans, the problem that is going on is that y'all want to bicker, y'all want to name call, y'all want to make distinctions, y'all want to make accusations and stuff like that without actually finding the proper information or knowing the correct information before you come and confront somebody. I've been doing these lives for quite some time, and not once have I actually called the veteran an idiot unless I had to. Some of y'all are dumb. I'm not going to sugarcoat that shit. I'm going to be as honest as possible. Some of y'all are ignorant. Some of y'all are dumb. Some of y'all are not educated enough. Some of y'all are still in that mental phase of do as you're told and y'all do it. Or do as I say, not as I do kind of stuff. And y'all still have that mentality. I made that video on Pete Hegseth because that was my opinion. I shouldn't have done that because on this channel, I tried to make it less political and stuff like that, but I made the question and I made answers. Then I had somebody just recently put a statement about what is my message for your viewers today? Just don't worry about the ignorance of people, because you're going to deal with ignorance on this app or on any app. You're going to deal with people that are ignorant and people that are going to downplay what your message is. The people that tune into you will understand that the message that you are trying to come across is of assistance, to benefit people, to help people, not to just basically downplay people. Because yes, it's easy to downplay people. I could talk hella shit for towards veterans the whole time. I'm a veteran. I know what y'all did. I know how y'all served. I know how y'all operate. And it's just like your justification doesn't do that. So it's basically you're going to have ignorance. You're going to have stuff being told to you that doesn't really matter. Just keep doing what you got to do. And that's the thing I'm taking. But at the same time, sometimes you got to call out the stupidity because you cannot allow the stupidity to continue to go. If you don't agree with what I have to say, that's cool. You can just swipe away. That's not my issue. That's not my problem. That's your problem that you can't have dialogue with somebody before deciding to just cut them off. If you just want to cut them off and cut them off, go ahead. You might have learned something, or you could learn something from my channel, or I could learn from you. But you are taking away the ability for a person to learn because you are so uptight that you won't have a conversation with them first. and then decide, you know what, this person is an idiot. Okay, I just let them be. Because the thing that got me today was the conversation. Somebody made mention of the military is woke now, and I'm still trying to figure out what that means. Because I made a video on it before, and it was just like woke when it comes to the military is just like. So you mean to tell me that our service members are actually more educated now and know what is right and what is wrong instead of what is being told is right? Because according to war crimes, if you commit a war crime, that's wrong. Not just because in somebody's eyes it was right, but it's wrong because that was the law to go for. So if somebody says something against that, you want to say that they're woke. Being woke has nothing to do with what people try to insinuate it as. People try to put that into the military as, oh, it's woke. It was just like the military isn't woke. The military has been the military for the past how many years? We've been in service and around for quite some time now. For people to say, "Oh, the military is woke," what does that mean? What do people define it as? What do people find it as? Like, what are you saying is the woke part? Did my sleep study the 14th? My health app on my phone is integrated with the clinic, so I see I'm being prescribed a CPAP, but the clinical notes say mild apnea. Still sleep apnea. If you're being silky, if you are being prescribed a CPAP machine, that means you just had your water bottle, kid. It was like if you are being prescribed a CPAP machine, according to what the CFR is now, you are going to get 50%. Because basically it's mild. There's I forget what the lower one is. There's mild, moderate, and severe. If you have it and you're being prescribed a CPAP machine, according to the CFR now, with your disability claim, that is a 50% claim that you are getting. That's a 50%. As long as you're claiming it and it is service connected, because remember, that's the biggest thing. The service connection part is the biggest thing. If it is service connected, that's 50% automatically. That has nothing to do with what the supposed upcoming changes when they say they may happen in April or may not. If you don't know what the mental health changes, it now got changed to August. I was just like, people have been saying all this stuff, and I tell people, tell veterans, don't go off of these other channels scaring the shit out of you, telling you that, oh, these changes are happening in April. When you have an effective date or when you have an actual date that says this is going into effect, that's when it's going into effect. These people have been talking about these changes for years. It's been since 2022. I did a video on that, and it was probably on one of the workshops, not a separate video, but how it showed that the final action date is of April 2025. Now, that was for sleep apnea and for tinnitus. Now for mental health, it got changed to you now have, what's up, SK? Can I watch Miss Lovey? No, you're watching that. Oh, just like it got changed, and it's just like then you can turn off the TV, Mama. What? You can turn it off. If you don't want to watch that, you can turn the TV off. But that's the thing that people don't understand, that it's just like those changes have been implemented or haven't been implemented, and those final action dates have been moved for years now. Why? Because it takes more stuff. Like when they do these studies and they start checking, like, hey, like the MDMA, how they're saying that it might work, or the medical marijuana, how they say that might work. That goes into effect when it comes to treatment and it comes to seeing how you rate a person. Because the thing is basically, if I'm gonna say, hey, you have social impairment and stuff like that, but if I put you on medical marijuana, all of a sudden you become a social butterfly and you have no issues. That ties into the rating criteria. Because now the VA will be like, well, we have a medication that we know we can prescribe to a veteran, which we know will make them better, which will lower their rating. Those are things that have to be in there. And that's girl mechanized infantry company. A lot of those guys are alcoholic, womanizing. And that's I had like Slim. That's the one thing I had earlier. Like I made that video I made about him being a secretary, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it like that. The thing is you are there to become, or the lethality of the U.S. military, right? What has changed in the last 20 years? No- Are we not the same lethal force that we have been? Because everybody wants to say that, people are saying, like I said, people are saying, oh, it's the woke community. These soldiers are woke now. No, the difference is that these soldiers are actually standing up for shit that has been brushed under the table, or just basically been left oblivious to the issues. I was just like, we keep finding soldiers that have been either murdered, or they've been chopped up, or they've been assaulted, and it's just like, this has been something that has been ongoing in the military. So now you're saying that the military is woke because they actually want to do something about this? I was like, at the same time, I mentioned it in the comment I made. It was just like, remember, don't ask, don't tell. Those were military service members. Some of those people, some of these people that criticize it, served with, but they got kicked out of the military because of their sexual preference. That shit had nothing to do with the military. They still did their job. They still executed. They still deployed. But you held a discriminating factor on this. So that's why educating people is different. They were just like, y'all forget. And no, the crazy part about it, Slim, is just like, you say this, right? But at the same time, this training is needed. Because you know why? When we join the military, everybody ain't smart. Everybody doesn't come from the same background. Everybody doesn't get educated the same way. When you join the military, and this probably goes for every single basic training class, you had one person that didn't know how to shave, one person that didn't know how to do laundry, a person that didn't know how to sweep or mop. It was just like, yeah, you need to train people on these instances, because this is actually what the world is going to. The LGBT community has been around for decades. It's been around for decades. Just that before, it was not a thing that they wanted in the military. But then when they noticed, it was like, man, we got a lot of service members that want to serve this country, and they go through that. I was just like, but that's the thing. It's just like, people want to nitpick certain things because that's what their perspective is, instead of looking at a general focus. It was just like, my first best leader was a female staff sergeant that showed me how to lead soldiers, not discriminate, not nitpick who to do it. If a soldier needed something and they needed assistance, you stopped and made sure that that soldier was taken care of, and then you continued mission. Why? Because it's the soldier that was doing all the damn work. So when I was doing all the work, I was running schools for a battalion as a PFC. This woman was a staff sergeant in charge of some other part in the S3 shop, and I'm in there, and she just like, you know what? This is how you take care of it. She didn't tell me this how you did it. She just showed me how it was done. And that led me to be a great leader, that at year 7, I was already being looked at for Sergeant First Class. I got out in year 10. The only thing that held me back was COVID, because they stopped my SOC class that I had a date for in my 7th year. You know what that is, being a 7 in 7? I was just like, and people be like, oh, it's just because the stuff changed. It's like, no, you were lazy. Some people were lazy. Some people were not. Some people were high speed. Some people were not. Some people took responsibility and ran with it. Others did not. I was 27 years old. I was a grown ass person. I already knew what responsibility was. I was just like, all y'all got to do is show up at the right time, right place, right uniform. And some of y'all can barely do that. And it's just like, that shit had nothing to do with who was in charge. It was on you. You made your leader. Your leader was great if you were great. Cause they look good because you made them look good. When your whole squad had that great PT score, they would be like, man, that NCO is doing his job. They ain't say shit about the soldiers, did they? But what happens when you have a leader like that? Some of those leaders are the ones that actually took care of the soldiers and made sure, like, you know what? Here's time off. Here's this. Here's that. And then there was other ones that just took their NCOER and just like, hey man, I did a good job, and just left it at that.
What? You? What's button I pressed?
Stop pressing buttons, please.
I pressed X. And then I did all control.
Hold on, give me a sec.
This is weird. I don't know how the TV can get. Just a the drain glass. Oh, that. Okay, you.
That control has to charge. Whereas like that's neither here or there with stuff like people need to understand that it's just like people want to say that it's just like you have people that have done stuff and a lot of people stayed quiet and didn't say anything. You have a lot of sexual assault that happens in the military and it stays quiet or it gets brushed under the rug. Why? Because of the good old boy system where you had that. You know how many times it's been said that, oh, we're not gonna do anything to this soldier because it might ruin his career. So you'll leave somebody that calls sexual assault and we'll hem them up because of the fact that it might affect them down the road. It was just like that's the type of shit that happens in the military. And then you want to talk about people want to talk about, oh, it's because they woke. No, bro. This generation of the put it like this: the generation of soldiers now, the generation of kids coming up, don't have the thought process of consequences. And who do you think showed them that? It was like, it's easy for everybody to be like, oh, this new generation. I was just like, who's leading them? Because the thing is what you're telling me is that the leadership in place ain't doing their fucking jobs. It's not that, oh, we're training them with this or training them with that. Are you actually doing training? Because that's one of the reasons I wanted to leave and got out of Germany too. It was like you send people to Germany, they don't do no fucking work. They don't do no training. You know the fact that there was no sergeant's time training on the training schedule? No sergeant's time training for any of the companies. None of them had sergeant's time training. There was no white space that they filled in with training that actually meant anything. And the crazy part is that when people, because the thing is you start realizing that there's a lot of people that are no longer in the military and haven't been in the military for a long ass time that fall for this whole gimmick of just like, oh, you woke. The soldiers now woke. Most of those people don't even know what the hell woke means or how to define it, but they want to say that soldiers now are doing it. Explain what woke has done to the military. But when people do that, I ask people to do that. State facts, state actual information as to what it has caused within our military. Because last I checked, so you saying our special forces is woke? They seem to be doing a pretty damn good fucking job of what they need to do. They part of the military. They get that training too. Everybody gets it. If you're the Department of the Army, right? You getting that training, right? Because you got to do it once a year. Once a year. It's not a you got to do it every month, every week, every day. It's a once a year training. The same way sharp classes are once a year. EO classes is once a year where you got to make sure you do that one big ass class that covers all the stuff. That's once a year. So you mean to tell me that an overall training that's happening one time is influencing our military? Nah, it's the lack of leadership. It's the fact that you are promoting people because you just want to promote them. Because the thing is people are going to say it's like, oh, it's DEI stuff in the military. No, it was called the STEP program, where once you reached a certain time, you became promotable or you became the person that was getting promoted. That didn't happen back in the day. There was a time period, which I forget when it was instituted, because I was under Obama, Trump, and Biden. I forget which one of them instituted around what time, but it was called the STEP program. Select, train, educate, promote. People went through that system. And literally it was like you selected them. Why? Because they met the what? You were a specialist and you were at like 2.5 years. It's time to go, buddy. You met two. And the thing is what messed up the military is not the fact that it was just like woke training. It was the fact that the military thought everybody was a fucking leader. That's what fucks up a lot of the military. Because you think everybody's a fucking chief. Everybody's not meant to be a chief. Everybody's not meant to be a leader. Everybody's not meant to get promoted at the same time with other people. Not everybody's supposed to be an NCO at a certain time period. I became an NCO at what, 2 years? 2 years. But I was 27. I was soldier leader of the cycle when I graduated basic training. So I came in knowing the stuff. I was 27 years old. I wasn't a little kid. I knew life. I knew how to take care of stuff. I knew how to manage responsibility. I didn't need a grown ass person overseeing me and telling me what to do. I knew how to take care of myself. I knew how to cook. I knew how to clean. I knew how to do laundry. I knew how to shave. I knew how to wake up on time. I knew how to party and then still be at formation, maybe drunk. But you ain't smell that on me because I made sure to brush my teeth. But I was there. But it's just like those are the things that people don't understand and don't want to pay attention to. Like none of this changing. Like people want to make it as woke. It's just like, and that's why I have an issue with it. It's just like you put people in certain positions because of the mentality that this is what is going on. It was just like, but you yourself can't explain it. I was like, you can't tell me somebody's woke because they're getting all these trainings. They get those trainings once a year. If once a year is having such an influence on our military, that's an issue. But then you fail to ask, why are our soldiers not realistic? Why are they having such problems? Figure it out. Or just like why are these soldiers having issues? Why are these soldiers going through all these things, and why are people not understanding and seeing what's going on? And I'm just like this. I'm gonna end up doing these. These are gonna be. This is gonna. Oh, and Slim, appreciate you becoming a member, man. I appreciate you. This is something that like these conversations. These are the conversations that I'm gonna just make it. That it's gonna be the podcast. The podcast episodes is gonna be like this, and this is just gonna be for members only. I was just like, because I want people that actually understand and believe and have seen what I've done and how I'm educating people to pay attention to it. See, and that's the thing. You enlisted in the Air Force in 2001. When did you get out? Or are you still in? Because some people still in at that point. And then one of the biggest issues I think with our military now, that people, people would get this on their evaluations. Failure to adapt. That is the problem with our military right now. Failure to adapt. It's not being woke. It's failure to adapt. Because the thing is you're still training soldiers. You still giving them all that training. You're still giving them all that stuff. The training hasn't changed much. The doctrine is still the same. The difference is that now soldiers understand stuff a bit better. There's actually phones now. There's mobile stuff that when you tell me I can't have this beard and it's out of regulation, what do? I can just pull up my phone and actually search to see that you full of shit. Couldn't do that before. All these older generation people, you didn't do that. You were told, hey, that's out of regs. You need to shave that shit. What? You wouldn't have shaved it. What do soldiers do now? Soldiers actually look at the regulations. Soldiers actually pay attention to the regs. Whereas, because you know why? There's a lot of leadership now that took advantage of the regs or took advantage of soldiers because they didn't know any better. I just dealt with that in Germany before I got out, and the dude got relieved of command. Why? Because he was, what is it? They wanted to say he was favoritism. He was fucking them, but that's a whole different story. But that's stuff that's been in the system and been going on in our military. That has nothing to do with being woke. If you have a sergeant first class or a master sergeant or a first sergeant that is abusing the system, circumventing actual punishment, or are not getting punished for what they do, but then the PFC and the private get the punishment, that's where we have problems. Because the thing is if you want to talk about being woke, it's just like, yeah, if I commit the same crime as you did, but because you were a higher rank, you got a slap on the wrist, and me, I lost all my rank and all my pay, yeah, I'm going to have a gripe about it. Yeah, I'm going to be upset about it. Yeah, I'm not going to want to re-enlist. Because the thing is we both committed the same infraction, but I got the bigger consequences, even though a senior should receive the higher consequences because they knew better. I never understood that. And that was one thing that I was happy when I first joined in, when that didn't happen. It didn't matter what your rank was. The sergeant major I had, that man didn't give a fuck who you were. You got a DUI, he kicked your ass out. Didn't matter. Kicked you out. He walked some people to the fucking gate too. Out the gate, like literally out the gate. It was just like, stuff like that happens, but the thing is just like, you mean to tell me that the punishment for the sergeant first class is lesser when he's been in longer, should have known better than a private that's been in for like less than a year? Or a PFC that's been in 3 years, but you got somebody that's been in 14, 15 years and they are committing the same infraction but are not getting the same consequences. Those are things there that people don't understand and don't realize and don't pay attention to. What's woke about that? Please tell me. Somebody explain to me what being woke is when it comes to consequences not being administered or punishments administered how they should be. So an activity duty post, I saw peeps with beards, yet they made us shave faithfully, even out in the field. It was just like, it depends, because the thing is people want to talk about discipline and stuff like that, but it's not the same across the board. Because look, I was at Fort Riley. That was best fucking duty station I had. I learned discipline. I learned how things are supposed to be. I learned how to PMCS correctly, how to go out to the field, build a foxhole, survive in the damn fucking freezing winter, what you had to do, how to make sure your tent was good, how to make sure to build a little ditch for when you put your tent in so that way the wind would pass over some of it and you would be lower in the ground and it wouldn't hit. Like all that stuff, I learned at Riley. I went to Germany. None of these soldiers knew this shit. You just got to the unit, you don't know how to do a damn thing. And then while at the unit, when you try to push for that kind of training, it'd be like, nah, that's too much. Because you had lazy leadership, which is basically the people that are coming into the higher ranks now, are a lot of people that made it to staff sergeant and went indefinite. And they went indefinite and they became lazy. So they're not training, they're not educating, they're not doing what they need to do, but then they hold standards differently to what somebody else does. And that's not how that shit is supposed to work. UCMJ is UCMJ across the board. I don't care if you sergeant first class, or first sergeant, or private. UCMJ should fall for everybody at the same level. But people don't look at it that way. People think it's the training that's messing up our military. No, it's the lack of accountability. Let's put it where it is, the lack of accountability. If we start putting it where the lack of accountability is, then from there we start seeing like, oh, you know what? This person, yeah. There's no accountability here. You got soldiers being assaulted and nothing happens. You have soldiers that are being accused of assault and it's fake. Nothing happens to the accuser. But then you do have stuff that the accuser does have and the accused did do it and nothing happens to it. And sometimes it was just like unfair or bullshit. But where was the accountability there? When the accountability is of a sergeant first class decided to do this or beat their kid or beat their wife or whatever the case, they get sent to jail, but then they get to retire early with all benefits? And you mean to tell me that's the problem is the woke culture? But then that PFC got into an altercation with his wife and he got demoted to PV1 to private, lost half his pay, 45, and it's the same thing. But yet that sergeant first class gets to retire early? Shit, how many of these generals or lieutenants or officers or sergeant first classes, master sergeant, sergeant majors end up that you see hearing on the news, oh, this person was part of this person was part of that, this person was part of this. And some of them just get to retire with their benefits early. But woke culture is the problem. Being woke is understanding that, damn, this person was able to get away with this and still retire with their full benefits. But then PFC Joe Smith over here lost all he had for the same infraction. Yet he's new.
I don't know what to do.
Figure it out. You want to play the game? You got to learn how to play it. You need to figure it out. I'm not going to help you through the game. I was just like, anytime stuff like that happens, it's just like people don't understand that. It's just like, stop. The problem that we have is in this society and with the military and veterans and stuff like that is that we're going off of the same topic. We're going off of the same issue. We are going off of and basically listening to this one item that we heard, and then we're running with it. We're running with the fact that it's just like, oh, this is what's going on with service members. They're woke. But then the problem is that people fail to realize with the advancement of technology and the failures to adapt, we now find information faster than we did before. When was anybody communicating with somebody outside their duty station? To all these other people, you didn't have cell phones. You were literally restricted and knew nothing but what was on your installation. Now, soldiers get to talk to people that are across the country. You could be stationed at Irwin and you can have a chat and see videos of somebody that's in North Carolina. It was like, damn, they're doing a cool ass ruck march. You know what? Let me try that here at Fort Irwin. Oh, damn, this person got relieved of command for this? That's wild. You know what? We actually had somebody do the same thing here, but they didn't get the same punishment. That's a difference where I say it's failure to adapt. Because most of this leadership when they came in to service didn't have a cell phone. There was no cell phones. They were still using landlines. They were still using house phones. They probably still had a house phone in their house. You don't see that no more. Who were you talking to? You weren't calling anybody unless you had their phone number. Now with the invention of all these apps and being able to communicate across the world or across the states with this, you have service members joining in together and you see people posting about these issues. That's where it is. You see people posting about all these negative issues that are going on. And the thing is in the military, you watching this. People are watching these videos. When you have a LT on an app talking about how she was sexually assaulted and they just brushed it under the rug, she made waves with that. When you had so on First Class Green, when she was she's a powerhouse, but she was thicker. When she did her height and weight assessments, she would fail, even though she was fitter than more people that were in her unit. She was still failing. Outdoing them in PT and all that stuff, she was still failing. So it was just like, we got to look into this. You have Mason Parker in Hawaii, which lost his job because of his beard. The military said, we cannot have you leading because you have a beard. Why exactly? Well, why exactly is that a justification? So how many service members don't have beards? How many service members don't have shaving profiles? See, look at that. I remember calling base operators in the States of Germany. They still do that. You still dial 0 and it goes to the operator. Sometimes they do it. They've lessened on the amount that they push you out unless it was like a DSN for another state, for another installation. Germany don't do that no more. Germany's now is just like, oh, we'll operate. Well, hey, we can connect you to anybody here, or sometimes a DSN if you need to reach it, if you can provide the DSN. It was like the DSN ain't working. We're trying to do it here, and then they would connect you that way. But besides that, you only communicated what you were able to do. Now with cell phones, I can communicate with people without having that issue. I don't have to go through command to get something done. I don't need. Put it like this. Back in those days, when you got a Red Cross message, how did you get your Red Cross message?
Uh,
It got to the unit. Unit verified it. Your staff duty probably got it. They got it. They got to the unit. Your command team got figured out. And then your command team let you know. Whereas now, the message, if something happens to your family, that message goes directly to your phone. Now, Slim, the thing about it is that I don't give a shit where you from. If you got a shaving profile or stuff like that, are you doing your job? Are you fighting for this country? Are you going to fight for this country? I don't give a fuck what you look like. I don't give a fuck if you got a beard. I don't give a fuck if you got long hair. Are you fighting for this country? Are you staying fit? Are you going to defend the Constitution? We're the only country that wants to make sure you have a shave, you have to have a clean shaven, and you got to look up. Oh, just like, bruh, a lot of these other countries don't have that. They still do what they got to do. People still sign them. You imagine how many people would go in if you wouldn't be so restrictive on the stupidity. Oh, you got a shaving? You got hair? No, can't do that. Oh, you got long hair? Can't let you grow it. It's 2025. We ain't in the 50s and in the 30s. If anything, this is the easiest thing the military can do. Look, if we are going to deploy overseas, you gotta cut your hair. If we get shipped out and we got ship out dates, you gotta cut your hair. That's it. Don't make it anything else crazy. You got a beard? Sorry, if we're deploying for 8 months, 9 months, 15 months, whatever the case may be, you gotta cut your beard. You gotta trim your hair because we're gonna deploy. Stop. And it's just like that's the thing that people don't understand. It's just like times have changed. It's failure to adapt. We're still a lethal force. We still get shit done. The thing is we're failing to adapt because we're falling behind on the shit we need to start training on and looking at because we still stay with the same outdated fucking thought process. It was just like, oh, failure to adapt. It was just like, yeah, we should learn that all these people do this and do that because then we learn how to interact with these people and we learn what we need to from these people because you get that knowledge base. The biggest thing is just like, y'all didn't have phones. There was no cell phones back then. You couldn't communicate. Everything ran through. Like, why the hell are we still doing CQ? Like, I understand having CQ, but a 24-hour shift? For what? Now, I understand if you make the shift that the person works overnight only, like a night shift. Because during the day, you should be at work, shouldn't you? During the day, you should be at work. Everybody got a cell phone. Please find me a soldier that walks around without a cell phone nowadays. Find me anybody that does not have a cell phone nowadays. Very rarely do you have somebody that does not have a cell phone that you can't just be like, hey, I need you to come into the shop. Hey, your vehicle's ready. I need you to come pick it up. Very rarely do you not see somebody not have a phone. So it's just like, it's not the same thing. It was like if there's an emergency, it wasn't that one landline that was at the CQ desk. Everybody got a cell phone. If there's a fire, everybody got a cell phone to call 911. If there's an emergency, everybody has the ability now. It's not the same as back in the day where you only had that one phone in the building. People didn't have phones in their rooms. Oh, it's like you had to go out, you had to go get drunk, you had to go party and stuff because you had to get out the room because you couldn't do shit else. You didn't have streaming services. You had to go to what? Blockbuster, if there was a Blockbuster around, to rent a movie, or you had to actually go to the movie theater. Like, times have changed so much from the previous stuff that people don't understand that and they don't pay attention to it, that they want to just throw stuff out there that makes veterans start thinking, oh, it's just like, oh shit, he's right. He's right. They're woke. That doesn't, no. Y'all failing to adapt. We didn't have the iPhone came out in what, 96? 96. And look at how far we've come now. Look at how far we've come. Look at how we can communicate. Look at me doing this live right now. I'm doing this live. You couldn't do that 20 years ago. People weren't doing this 20 years ago. Shit, I can't even remember when YouTube actually started. They weren't doing live streams. The internet couldn't fucking hold that. But it's just like people still had the process. I had an exercise exemption badge when I was. Yep. SK, I'm a chem soldier. You know how much I had to fight to try to train soldiers on chemical warfare? You know how hard that shit was to try to get people to be, oh, we don't need that shit. We don't need it. All right. Okay. You know how many people are scared of a damn chamber? I was just like, but you trying to influence good positive change. Some people are so old school that they were just like, we don't need this change. Or we do these things that way. That's a failure to adapt. Because the way you were doing stuff when you first came in is different now. Because when you first came in, you didn't have cell phones. Now, all of a sudden, people think that, oh, because you have a cell phone, I have automatic access to you and I'm going to call you at whatever fucking time I want to. No, that's not how it works, man. Oh, just like when you were back before the cell phones, y'all weren't being contacted at the end of the day. Phones and failure to adapt, it has made people lazy because some people are just like, oh, I need to pass out notes. I need to have a formation and hold people till 1900 to make sure everybody's good, and then I can put out notes. We got cell phones, man. You got squad leaders. You pass the information out to the squad leaders. Squad leaders pass it out to the team leader. Team leader passes it out to anybody else, to the rest of the squad. And you got people informed and people got notified that way now. But what did some people were so still old school that they didn't use phones, that they were like, no, we're going to hold formation. I was just like, yeah, you wasting people's time. And with people, and I keep saying this, if you did not serve while COVID, you don't understand. And you won't understand. That's a conversation I'm gonna have, and I'm gonna have that as a different episode. This is gonna be the latest episode on the podcast. But the next episode is I'm gonna make one of these that explains how COVID-19 fucked up the military. And ever since then, the military has not been the same. It ain't have nothing to do with being woke. COVID-19 was a bigger influence on the military than people realize or actually can acknowledge. I went through it. I went through it while I was in Germany. Other people went through it while they were in other places. And it's just like the effects of what COVID-19 did and showed soldiers and showed what was happening is what has changed the military going forward. Not because they woke. Because the thing is during COVID-19, people were locked onto their installations, were locked onto base, couldn't go anywhere off base, couldn't congregate with too many people, couldn't do PT together in an organized group, couldn't do none of that. But you know what happened? The military was still functioning. We were still conducting operations. We still did training at one way or another. But it showed soldiers that the excessive stupidity that sometimes is made to be done in the military was useless. I was just like, We weren't going nowhere, so we went. Somebody went to PMCS the trucks, but that was it. There was no training being scheduled, no nothing. PT formations. Nobody died. Nobody missed anything. Give me a second. I lost my train of thought. I have to take care of the kid real quick, but oh yeah, COVID. That was the one thing that people didn't realize during COVID. If you were in garrison or even if you were deployed, shit was minimal. All the excessiveness that the military wanted to add and has been doing over the past couple of decades was realized that it was unnecessary. Because the thing is people were having formations, right? You have your morning formation, cool, to do PT as a unit, cool. But then all of a sudden, you couldn't have formations because it was a congregation of people, and all you were doing was contacting people to make sure they were alive, make sure they were awake. But people were still passing their PT tests, even without those morning formations, even without the excessiveness. People were able to work out on their own. And then when it came to the PT test, they were able to take care of it. So that was one thing. When it came to just anything else, really, I was just like, it got shown that some of this stuff was just excessive. You have soldiers now doing stuff because you know why? Your old leadership did that to you. So you figured that was the right thing to do. So you pass it on to the new soldiers, and the new soldiers just like, this is fucking dumb. Let's unpack this Connex to repack it, and then you come out afterwards after not giving me guidance and tell me, oh, it's wrong and I need to unpack it again. Why, as a leader, wouldn't you be making sure you gave proper guidance as to how you wanted things done so it was done right in the first place? It's just like COVID opened the eyes of so many soldiers that it's just like, look, I could still do this military stuff. I could still do training if I need to. I could still do this, do that. But I don't need to do all this excessiveness that's being added on there. All the late night affairs, all the extended time periods.
I don't know how to get out of I don't know how to get out.
And it was just like people failed to realize and failed to understand that's part of the stuff. That's another failure to adapt because people didn't know what to do. I was just like, for us, for shit, I was stuck on base. I couldn't go out. All we did was drink and barbecue. So that's all we did. With the people in our building, the people that was just like, hey, we were in the same household, so we were able to interact with each other and be around each other. That's what we did. We grew together because we got to hang out with each other more and stuff like that. But you didn't have any crazy training. You didn't have any stuff like that. Hey, your live stream again. Yes, I'm streaming. This is just I was just doing this one. CSW is just like I'll make this like a little. This is gonna turn into like a little podcast episode. It's just like just talking about stuff. But yeah, if people got questions and stuff like that, they can throw it out. But this is probably what is gonna happen. Is just gonna make it as like podcast episodes every now and then, just like me going mobile and just talking about stuff like when something happens. And that's what that was earlier. It was a comment on a video of mine, and it was just like I had to say something about it because it was just like some ignorance within the veteran community is the problem. I was just like, some people failure to adapt. Some people have the failure to understand there are differences in time periods. There's differences in eras. There's differences in how the military operates from when it operated back in the day. The big difference, it was just like one of the big things, like I said, cell phones. There wasn't cell phones back in the day. In the when we first went into Iraq, cell phones was still a new thing. You had them brick ass phones. It wasn't the shit that you could just put in your pocket now. It wasn't something that had GPS tracking on it, unless you had a satellite one. But that was a specific thing. Those differences and stuff like that changes the eras. Now, if you notice how warfare is going, it's not even people, it's people still doing it, but now it's electronic warfare. Now it's drones. So, do you get back pay from a secondary condition that developed later? The only way, CSW, that you get back pay is basically you have to file your intent to file date. Whenever it gets notified, whenever you get that decision, you get back paid from that time period. You don't get secondary. Just because you have a secondary doesn't mean that they give you the back pay for that. Unless it was determined that you should have been, like, you should have had that added in the first part, then yes, that case you would get back pay. Like, they misdiagnosed you or you went through an appeal and they saw, oh, damn, he should have had this in there also, but they didn't put it. Then you would get that back pay. Otherwise, for secondaries, it would mean you get the payment for it from your intent to file date. So like I said, if you filed last year at this day, today's the what? The 17th in 2024 of January. If you filed that and then you just got your award or whatever, and they said it was service connected, they would back pay you that past year, but that's because you filed that intent to file date last year in 2024. It doesn't work the same way going forward. You have to make sure that you are filing your claim, and then you will get back paid from when you filed that claim. Unless there was a major error that they did and you can show that through the thing, then they'll give you the back pay because it should have been done beforehand. But it all goes off of your filing date. You can get secondary claims, but it's when you file that secondary. So if you decide to file your secondary claim today, that means whenever it gets resolved, that secondary claim will backdate it to that time period. Yes, I'm still 30 fighting 100. I was at 80 and they took me back to 30 due to me not wanting to take so many drugs. I was vendetta punished. So the issue, see, because the thing is this is the thing, CSW. The problem that a lot of veterans need to understand is that if you get put on any medication, grab it. Just grab it. You want to put me on this? Sure, fine. You don't have to take it. You don't have to take it. You can keep getting the prescriptions, and then when you go, you can put it and dump it out into one of those pharmacies that takes like old medication and stuff like that, and do it that way. Because the thing is not all the medication works. The thing is they want you to take medication because that was it. Yeah, but that's the thing. You could have, what you needed to do is, instead of saying no, you're not going to do it, it was like, look, y'all need to find me alternatives because what y'all giving me right now does not let me operate. Because what you could have done then was, since you were at that point, you could have made it that the medication got you TDIU, the unemployability. Because it's just like, look, this is what this does to me. Y'all know this is what it does. Causes drowsiness, this, and that. Then you can apply like, hey, me taking this medication that I have to take causes me to be unemployable. And then you could have tried to fight the route to go TDIU to get it that way. When the VA prescribes medication, you got to understand, take it. Or ask for an alternative. If they don't have another alternative, that's different. See, because it's different for everybody. For some people, medication works. For some people, don't. Me, I was taking muscle relaxers. The muscle relaxers I was taking, they were doing great. But that next day, I was basically like, I don't know if they gave me like course tranquilizers. I don't know what the hell they gave me. But I would be so groggy for basically the next portion of the day that I was just like, I can't take this because I can't operate. I was doing that while in service, that they were giving me those medications. And I was just like, I would wake up and I'm just like, bruh. I was just like, I would have to try to load up on as much caffeine as I could to try to like assist with like trying to wake me up and stuff like that, but I was still too groggy. But I heard I can file for ED because of all the medication law. I heard they won't check if your thing gets up. Yes, I had that conversation this past Sunday. I think I said it, but before you had come in, I was just like, they're not gonna ask you to stiffen up. That's how I put it. They're not gonna ask you, hey, I need you to stiffen up real quick, see if you're working or not. No, they're not gonna do that. The thing is with that medication, they understand that with certain medications, it does cause erectile dysfunction. So that's why they don't even fight. Because the thing is, there's no test on it. What are they gonna do? Bring a naked female in there and see if you get aroused or something? I was just like, they don't do that. What they might check for is to see is like, hey, do you have anything wrong with your testicles or something like that? That they will check because, hey, maybe it could be something like testicular cancer or something like that may be causing it. So they will check to make sure that there's nothing else wrong, but there's no way of proving ED. There's no way of showing ED. The thing is that they know once you have certain medications and a cocktail of medications, it usually causes that. Usually when people have blood pressure medication, the blood flow is not flowing where it needs to flow to when you want it to. That can cause an issue. And that's why people say that it's doable that way because you're filing for erectile dysfunction, but you have medication that has causing you issues. So that's what it is. But you got to remember, ED is not going to get you a higher percentage. ED will be service connected, and then you will fall under the special monthly compensation K, which is like about $130 something, and that's because of loss of use of an organ. So you're just gonna get that. That's not gonna give you an extra percentage. So filing for ED basically just gets you an extra $130. It's like 136 something, like almost $137 a month. That's all it does. It doesn't increase your percentage. What is special pay? That's special monthly compensation. So special monthly compensation is another tier when it comes to disability compensation. You have the regular 0 to 100, and then you have the SMC. The SMC falls under if you have certain disability, like if you've lost a limb, lost the eye, lost the eyesight, lost the use of a hand, lost something like that, or if you're bedridden or housebound where you can't leave the house, stuff like that goes to it. I went from 30 to 50 to 70 to 90. The thing is what as veterans, what people need to understand is because literally I don't know what's going on, but I've had a bunch of my friends that I served with have been calling me like, hey, bro, I need some assistance. And I'm like, cool. And it's just like, you have to make sure you are looking for everything. SMC can get you up to like 10K, but that's extreme cases. SMC, when it comes to 10K, Slim Reaper, that one is, I believe, SMC level R, because one is housebound and then the other one is housebound and eight. No, it's housebound and aid in attendance. So the aid in attendance, there's two different ones. Is aid in attendance the 10,000, the highest one? Hey, what's up, Annette? The highest one when it comes to SMC is when you have to have a medical professional aiding you and overseeing you. The second low, I think that's R2. I think don't quote me. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't have my computer to actually like pull it up, but that is R2, I believe. And that is basically aid in attendance, but it's because you need a medical professional to do it, and you're housebound and you're like bedridden basically. The lower one is basically you are housebound, but let's say your wife can care for you or something like that. So that'll lower it. So that'll be the difference. But the thing is with SMC, it's basically a different criteria. And what people need to understand is like, it's not that they're adding it on top of your compensation. So it's basically you are now going to fall under this bracket of compensation. So you'll fall under the SMC levels of pay. So if you are bedridden, housebound and stuff like that, and you fall into where you need a medical professional to take care of you, clean you, bathe you, feed you, dress you, all that stuff, then you fall under that, and then you get paid at a higher thing because the VA recognizes that is more It's more work to do to make sure that the the veteran is okay. Because the VA told me several times, well, you can't get a higher rating because you should have done that within a month of discharge. They really don't like people getting a higher rating. What do you mean they told you that you couldn't get a higher rating because you should have done that within a month of discharge? There's nothing that you have to do within a month of discharge. You get a full year to do everything after you discharge, because basically what they do is they basically give it to you like for service connection. Slim, Annette, if you can, if I'm not sure, if you have an intent to file and you filed that claim, right? You can still add on to that claim, I believe. I believe. The thing is it may delay the process more. So since you already have that intent to file, if it's in that intent to file, you can file whatever you want into that intent to file. But I think once it's processed, then it's done with. But I'm not too sure there. I have to check that. Your medical discharge is 2011. It don't matter when you were discharged. You can file for disability claims at whatever time period you want. It don't matter. The thing is do you have them? They're gonna add it on. Yeah, that's fine, Silky. That's fine. Do it. Because the thing is as long as that gets service connected and you at 90, that 50% most likely will push you to that 100%, meaning that you will get back paid at the 100% level from your effective date, which is your filing date, your intent to file. Yes, you can add on to the claim, but once you drop that claim, yeah. That's what I figured. Thank you, Annette. So that's why I figured you can add it, and it would be best for you to add it. It's gonna delay the process, but the thing is hey, instead of you going through the process of hey, you're at 90%, or you get pushed to 90% with this thing and get back paid, then now you can get back paid at the 100%, which you know the difference between 90% and 100%. CSW, you have to make sure sleep apnea can be claimed. That is a claim that you can file. The thing is you have to have it service connected, which you have to have something in file showing that it happened while you were in service, or have something doing it, or getting a nexus letter, which is a medical provider connecting it and saying that yes, your sleep apnea was caused by your time in service. So you have to get the connecting factor. That's the main thing. Because if you have sleep apnea, that would mean you need to do a sleep study to make sure that Slim is going through that right now. He just did his sleep study, got that done. You'll get the information. It'll show if you have sleep apnea, how bad it is. But then once you have that, and that's basically a diagnosis of it, you have to have that nexus letter or that information highlighting and showing that it's service connected. Is it hard to prove? At times it is if you don't have any connecting factors. Sometimes sleep apnea can be developed by and be a secondary issue to something you already have. That's one way people go through with doing that. If your sleep apnea, let's say you have whatever you may have, I'm not entirely sure what you have, but if you have something that sleep apnea could have been caused by it, you would file that as a secondary claim to whatever it is causing it. But then you would still need a diagnosis and a nexus letter basically saying like, hey, this sleep apnea was caused by A, whatever A is. Sleep apnea is B. So B happened because A caused it. Would post-deployment PHA stating being chronically tired be a nexus? Look, Silky, this is one thing that I tell people. When you go to your medical records, get a copy of all that shit. Your PHAs, your post-deployment, your pre-deployment. If you have that notated in your record and you have it in your file, that is evidence. If it see in CSW, if that's the case, you have to see if maybe because of that you develop sleep apnea. Because if you did, that's how you would tie that in and get a sleep study and then put that together like, hey, but that's having a doctor say, yes, the psoriasis is the reason that he developed sleep apnea. Then you put that together, then you file for sleep apnea, you have the sleep study, you have that nexus letter connecting that, hey, the psoriasis is the cause for this, and then you go about it that way. Any PHAs, anything medical in documents that you have that you can provide as evidence, you have to submit. And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people, if they got a profile, they don't keep a copy of it. Profiles are not forever. And I learned this before, because before, at the beginning of when I was in service, when you had a medical profile, you can go to the profile page and it would show all the profiles you had. Then what happened? I don't know what happened. They changed something where only the active profile was visible. So now only that active profile is visible for service members. The thing is that service members forget it expires. So if you have a profile that's good for 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, that shit is gone because it expired. But if you printed it out and you have a copy of all those profiles, now you have documentation showing that, hey, I was on a medical profile for this, and this for this long. And I was like, that shows the documentation and that shows the track record of me having this issue while in service. You didn't have to go get seen by the doctor for it all the time, but if you had a medical profile for it, that is documentation that shows you were going through that issue. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't pay attention. There's so much stuff that's available for veterans to use, to obtain, to get information. They just don't know about it. When it comes to the portal, you can get your C file, which is basically your information showing your treatment, your medication, your appointments with the VA. You can request that and then you can submit that as part of your evidence. Because if they're telling you you're doing this and you're doing that and it hasn't gotten better and they've tried this and tried that, you can put that in your record. It's like, hey, well, look, I've been seeing the VA and the VA itself is saying that I am not getting better. That's an easy way to file for an increase, because now you have documentation from the VA saying you ain't getting better and you adding it to what you already adding. But that's things like that is just like, there's the portal, there's the health e-vet that you can go and you can message your provider and just be like, hey, look, I've been having issues with this and I want to get seen for it, or stuff like that. Because you got to remember, some things are covered. If it's service connected, it'll be covered. If it's not, they're trying to expand it that you still get taken care of. So that's still in the process of being like expanded. I had a claim they denied what I claimed for a lack of continuing treatment, but a possible Terra correlation and STR post-deployment exit exam, self-stating chronic fatigue or something to that effect. The thing is you got to remember, Slim, as long as you have something mentioning it, it's worth using. Because then it shows like, hey, they did talk about this while he was in service. Because the thing is you could be like, hey, it didn't fully develop till after. And yeah, and especially if that was their finding. Because the thing is that's the one thing that I find interesting when it comes to the VA. It's just like, you have favorable evidence, but it's not service connected. Like, bro, what do you mean? Like, how is that even a thing? How do you have favorable evidence, but it's not service connected? If I have favorable evidence, that means that y'all found something that makes it service connected, but y'all told me it wasn't enough. So it's just like, that's always been interesting to me. But when you have all those, anything, the thing is just like the VA wants it that you have like a full diagnosis on this. They don't want, like, it's hard when it has a mention of it and stuff like that. But the thing is you can use that as part of your personal statement. Hey, when I was in service, I had this issue and this issue basically started it here. Then if you have a nexus letter, if you need it to connect it to your service time, you can point that part in time out to your actual provider, to your private doctor, and be like, look, this is what I had when I had this here. So I laid mention of this here that I was dealing with this back then, but they didn't diagnose me. They just left it at that. I am dealing with it now, and you're diagnosing me with it. But now that provider can say, you know what? Off of the event that is noted in his thing, it is like they like to say more likely than not, or it is, yeah, basically it is I wouldn't say coincidental, but the wording is specific on there. It's more likely than not that the reason that he has this now was caused and stemmed from this incident and has now progressed and gotten worse. I am diagnosing him with that, and you go out there. That our early 90s didn't receive an exit physical. How does that affect things? Um, Kind of does and kind of doesn't. If you can secondary sleep evidence of mental health, I would, but at the same time, I'm scared they'll try to downgrade my mental health rating at some point. The thing is with the mental health rating, you're not gonna. You can get better, at least coping wise, but it's not just gonna cover everything. It's not just gonna. In order for you to get a reduction, there has to be noticeable improvement, and that has to be noticeable improvement within what you're doing. So if you're going to get seen for mental health, they have to see that you showing and you have multiple instances of showing that your disability has improved drastically enough that it warrants a reduction. The VA does not just reduce people because it's just like, you know what? It's time to lower this guy. It doesn't happen that way. It's more of a, it has to happen multiple times. They have to have it noted. They have to have the documentation to support. Basically, the same way we have to provide the documentation to support service connection, they have to provide the supported documentation to show that you have gotten drastically better to reduce you. And then you go through the appeals process and the hearing to try to do that. But that's a whole different instance. To get there, it takes time. It's not just one thing. But the thing is if you are making an issue, like let's say you do that, anything that's secondary, if you get better, that's how you lose more ratings. Why? Because if your mental health got better and you were connecting everything else to it, that means everything else should be lower now or not as bad because of the fact that you're getting better. Scotty, to answer you, just because you did not get a exit physical doesn't mean it's not the end of the world. You still have your medical records. That's what you need to go off of. You need to go off of what's in there, what's provided, because the exit physical could have helped because it could have distinguished and added certain things that you didn't have on there. And it's documentation now that you may not have, but it's not the end of the world. You still have to have and find the documentation of the stuff that you can service connect there. Then from there, you can go the secondary claims route or you can go the aggravation route. But just because you have it doesn't change, it doesn't make it a like end of the world thing. You still need to go through your documentation, you still need to go to the files and see what you have. Reading SK is not reading your medical records, dissecting your medical records. Line by line, page by page, the entire thing. Not just reading something and skipping over, oh, it was the same issue. No, read the whole thing, no matter how long the thing is. You need to dissect it, go page by page, line by line, and see every single thing you got seen for, every single thing that's on your record, because all of that can be used in your favor. That one page you decided to skip out on could say something that you totally forgot that you got seen for, and you just thought, oh, it was just a checkup. But in there you have that, oh, you had this issue and this was noted. And that's what a lot of veterans start doing that. It's just like a lot of people don't do the homework. You got to do the heavy lifting. When it comes to your medical record, you got to go through every single page and see everything you filed for, everything you noticed, everything that was on file, so that way you are better prepared and you know, okay, I don't remember when I got seen for this, but I did get seen for this. Oh shit, it's noted in here. Oh, here goes another claim. And it might not be bad. Hey, Carla, so it might not be a big issue, but at the same time, you got to remember, if it's service connected, what veterans need to aim for is service connection of whatever it is you have. Don't give a shit about the secondaries yet. Make sure you are service connecting everything and anything that you can get service connected. Because you got to remember, if it's service connected already, you don't need a Nexus letter. If you want to file for an increase, it's just documentation showing that it's getting worse. Said I'm in Australia, bro. You like in the future right now. It's like y'all like what 15 hours ahead, I think, from me, or 16 hours ahead. You in the future right now, crawler. But that's the thing. You have to make sure everything is service connected, because once you have everything service connected, then you can file for increases if things are worsening. The more you have service connected, the more you can tie secondaries to. Because then that means that you have more options to say, hey, this is what's causing my secondary condition. That is causing my secondary condition. When you limit to it, because that's what a lot of veterans try to make it that it's just like, hey, they got a mental health rating or they got tinnitus, and then they put every single secondary on top of that. Yeah, I skipped my shaving profile and ankle sprain. That's on my first page from basic, and file for the OLEDs from my later years. Now I'm following that stuff from basic. Should have did it. It happens, Slim. It happens. The thing is sometimes we don't get educated on this stuff. Yeah, it's 1:43 a.m. Right? Yeah. I remember I had a bunch of friends from Australia that I would chat with. When I was streaming on Twitch, I met a bunch of them through there. But I was stationed in Germany, so it was closer. Not as big of a difference. Eat whatever you're gonna eat. You can eat the mangoes, mama. You look tired. Oh, K-Town. I miss Germany. I want to go back. But yeah, that's all the stuff that people don't realize. The more stuff you can get service connected, the easier it is to push for 100%. Thing is a lot of people tend to watch these. Like I said, a lot of people tend to watch these other channels where it's just like, oh, file for this and you will get all this. Oh, nice. Now you get to stay there too. Ooh. But that's the thing. A lot of people fail to do that. They watch all these other videos and they think that that's the process. It's just like, oh, I got mental health or I got tinnitus. I can claim all these different things on top of it, and then it becomes a fraudulent thing where it's just like you're coming up with stuff just to get to 100%. Not everybody's 100% disabled. Some people are, some people not. I understand it's a great thing. Yeah, the compensation, don't get me wrong, is great. Yeah, that high value claim. That's what people do. Leave it. It's the high value claim, and that's what people go after instead of like, hey, you can have minimal claims. You can have a 0% right now for a knee injury, but now your knee is worse. Now you got knee instability, or now you may be developing arthritis to it. That 0% can become a 10, 20, 30, maybe even 40%. If you're doing the same thing with your shoulder, then you got the other shoulder. Then you got your back. You got your upper back. You got your lower back. You got scars because of shaving. I got scars in my chin where you see I can't grow. I used to be able to grow my beard like fully like this. And now you see this patchy. Why? Because I did laser therapy to get rid of the ingrown hairs while in service. Had ingrowns. I have marks and scars under the hair that I am able to grow back. I filed for that. That was there too. Things like that people don't understand. I was just like, scars, they don't hurt, but they're there. I got a percentage for it. Ankle injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries, back injuries, shoulder injuries, ED, but ED don't get you a percentage, but GERD, sleep apnea, anything mental health wise. It doesn't have to be PTSD. It doesn't have to be depression. It could be anxiety. It could be OCD. It could be part schizophrenia. Big Boy Germany football champs. Love Germany. Germany was great, man. Germany. It's very rare to hear anybody say they dislike Germany. Very rare. But that's what it's like. All these things, people are always going for the high value claims, and the thing is they're service connecting it as a secondary to high value claims. And what people don't realize, that's where it's like that's the other thing where people be like, don't poke the bear. I was just like, I understand why some people tell you to poke the bear. These other channels don't tell you to poke the bear. Why? Because that's how they got you there. By telling you, hey, file for this, file for that, file for all under one thing, and then you got to 100%. But now when that one disability gets better that you made all that service connection to, the rest of it is going to go down to hell.
It flows for me. It like flow.
Turn it off and turn it on. Try it again. What metrics does the VA use to try to decrease our ratings? They don't have a metrics. It's not like a specific thing to identify reducing you. You have to have at least two. Try it again. Turn it the other button.
They're walking again.
Okay. You have to have at least two different times where it has been shown or you've been examined and you have progressively gotten better.
Yes, it works. You have to do this.
So with those two times, those are two times where you have progressively gotten better and it is identified that you have gotten better. Now they are going to go and they're going to put that into your file, which basically once they look at your file and it's just like, oh, there's been multiple times where it shows that he has gotten drastically better, which, okay, now if we look at what he claimed and what his rating is off of him drastically improving how he has, does this merit him being at a lower tier in that disability claim? So yeah, that's the oh yeah, y'all welcome, y'all welcome. That's one of the things that people don't understand. You have to have there has to be drastic improvement. It's not that the VA just decides, you know what, my cues, you look like it's your turn for a decrease. It doesn't happen that way. And that's what I think veterans are so like scared of. I was just like, man, they're just gonna look at mine and just be like, I need it. No. You have to, the same way you got to provide service connection and you got to provide documentation and diagnosis or evidence, they have to do the same. Because the thing is you got to remember, you have the opportunity also to appeal and to fight, excuse me, that decrease. Now, if they go to try to decrease you and you go to the hearing and they don't have anything showing that you've actually gotten better, that's an easy throw out. But the problem is that for most veterans, they'd be like, oh shit, I don't know what to do. And they just leave it at that. And then after 60 days, your claim is going to get decreased or your disability is going to get decreased because you didn't fight it. But if you have documentation showing that it's gotten worse or it hasn't changed, that's your fighting ability. But if the VA, if you go, let's take the instance of, let's say migraines, right? You got that 50% rating because you had those prostrating migraines where you were unable to function. You had those weekly, multiple times a month. Now, let's say you've been seeing the VA for migraines, or you've been taking the medication, and you go to the doctor and say, you know what? I haven't had migraines in the past couple of months. So one instance, right? Then you go and do another follow up for it. I was like, I still haven't had any migraines in the past couple of months since I last seen you. Now, what you're basically telling the VA is going to note that and they're going to look at that information and just like, oh, so you went from having migraines multiple times a month that you had to lay down and turn off the lights, sound, and all that stuff to you no longer have migraines. You stated that. The VA didn't state that. You stated that. You decided to put it as, oh, I don't have no migraines. You had to, JC, what up? You had to make sure you stated like, hey, I'm not having as many migraines as I used to. But since you stated that you didn't have any migraines, they made sure to jot that shit down quick. Now, if you look at the CFR, migraines, you have to have them prostrated multiple times a month to get the 50%. 30% you get them, but they're not bad, but you still get them. And then the lower percent is the lower percent. But now it's just like, well, if you ain't getting them at all, you used to get them all the time at 50% and they were so bad that you couldn't function. Now you are, now you're functioning and you don't have that problem. So yes, the VA is going to decide to send you that decrease letter because off of the findings that they now have, your migraines are not as bad as they used to be when you first got that claim determined. So since your claim got determined as, you know what, you have drastically improved where you're not getting migraines anymore, that's how you get a decrease. That's the thing also, it's just like veterans need to watch what they say when they go to their appointments. That's one thing that I've noticed a lot of channels don't talk about. Your appointments are a big factor. Make sure to go to them. If you're scheduled for them, go to them. But when they ask you these questions, give the full perspective. The same thing when you go to CMP and SAGs, give the full perspective. Because a lot of the times what people are doing is saying, you know what? I'm good today. He said he was good. But then you forgot to add that, but just like, but it's been bad the other days. I've had to deal with this, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, let me add that too. Because if you just said you was good today, or you didn't have any more migraines, on the record, that doctor just said he has not been having migraines anymore. You didn't say that you didn't have them as bad. You just said you wasn't having them. That's what gets noted into your record. And then when they see that again, and then you go that next time, it's just like, you haven't been having migraines? Well, we gave you 50% because you were having these menacing migraines that you cannot function. Well, now you're saying you don't get them, so you don't need a 50% rating. And that goes with any other thing that you have. Anything that you may have, just like back problems. If you went in there and you could only bend this much, and then the next time they see you, you went all the way down, touch your toes and everything, you have drastically improved your mobility. We paid you at the 30% or 40% because you could only move 15%. But now you're going a full 90. We don't need to pay you at the 30% mark because you at the 90% mark. Or 90% move angle. And that's what people need to understand. So there's no dedicated matrix as to this is the criteria they go off of. They go off of what you do. They go off of you. They don't go off of any documentation. There's no, put it like this, there's no CFR kind of document that says this is how we produce rating, at least that I know of. I haven't heard of anything like that. If y'all know of something, please make sure to let me know so I can look into that. But there's no reduction document. It's basically still going off of the CFR. Do you fall under this criteria or you don't? Because remember, when you get your disability rating paperwork, right, that tells you what it is, it'll tell you what happened and why you weren't pushed to the next higher rating. You received this rating, because we found that this didn't fall under CFR thing and it didn't push you to a higher percentage rate because you fell under this. It's the same way they explain it. Same way they're going to explain it, just like you are falling in this because of this. You are losing this percentage or this rating or this ranking for this reason. So that's why veterans need to pay attention to that. Need to make sure we're ensuring ourselves and knowing that this is what's going on, because a lot of this information is not, a lot of the information isn't readily available out there. And a lot of veterans are just scared about it. It's just like, yeah, poking the bear, I understand poking the bear. if you have all these connecting service disabilities because of their secondaries. The reason I say to poke the bear, even if you are 100%, is if this is something, if you are dealing with an issue that can be fatal, something that you can lose your life off of, you should file a disability claim, even though you are at 100% P&T. Because the thing is if you're 100% P&T, they understand you're not going to get better on certain things. Some of your stuff is static, some is not. Some can get better, some may not. Some things you deal with that are going to get better, some may not. But if it's something that you might die off of, the only reason I say to still file for it is because the DIC, the indemnity compensation for your family members. So if you pass away because of a service connected issue, which is documented on your death certificate, your family can apply and receive compensation payments. Because remember, if you pass away from a service connected issue, and it's not a service connected issue, it's not on file, your family isn't getting anything. Your payments stop. There's nothing covering your family unless it's a service connected issue that caused your death. So if it's something that you know, hey, maybe this might develop into something I might pass away from, file it. Because you know what? Down the end on the back road, your dependents, your wife, your spouse, whatever your kids, they will still be able to receive some payment and they get some money. Because remember, it's a big difference when you go from making, let's say you're at 100%, you getting basically close to $4,000, and then all of a sudden now your family's only making or receiving nothing monthly, tax free. That's a big change. I don't care who you are. If you lose out on damn near $4,000 a month tax free every month, that is going to make a big financial change for your surviving family members. So that's why I say when it comes to that case, file for it. If it's something that you could take care of and something like that, there's no need for it. But if it's something that you can pass away from, definitely make sure to file it, because the thing is you want it on record. Because if, hey, you develop something that you know might turn into something else that might cause your death, file for it. Have it on your thing, because if it's a claim and a service connected and you connected it, you can show that. Then it's like, hey, boom, I got this here. Something happens to me. If something happens to me, this is on file. This is on the record. So if I die from this issue, which is service connected and it was caused by the military, they're at least going to take care of my family afterwards. Because once you pass away, there's no other benefits to that. Once you pass, you passed. There's no added payments. There's no nothing when it comes to your compensation. Unless you built up a nice nest egg for your family to live off of after that, you're not getting any more payments. But if you do have it, the DIC payments will allow you to have your family to continue to get payments. Not going to be the 4,000, but it's better than nothing. But that's my opinion. People could take it as they want. You file what you want to file for. If you don't want to file for stuff, don't file for it. Everybody wants to get to 100%. Not everybody's 100% disabled. Not everybody has those different ailments. It was just like you can push towards it and you can progress towards it, but not everybody has everything that qualifies them for 100%. That's why most of the time it becomes a secondary issue where people add that stuff and try to tag on to it because of that. But that's something that you can't control or you can't do something about. That's just the way of looking at it. But everything is by regulation. The VA does what it does via regulation. They don't just come up with stuff out thin air. If you don't know the 38 CFR title, if you don't know the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4, the Schedule of Ratings, you need to be more adept in learning and paying attention and resourcing and doing your own homework. Because the thing is you can go to a VSO, you can go to a claims agent, you can do all that stuff. But if you still don't know what the hell you're doing, you're going to get scammed out of money. I just educate veterans so that way they don't get scammed. If you got a question, ask it. I'm going to give you where you can find it and what information it is. And I'll tell you, hey, I'm not too sure about this, so I don't want to give you the wrong information. But I'll tell you, hey, you can check on this page, on the .gov, on the VA.gov, or on this .gov site. Just like we have the Veteran Awareness Project website. You could check that out. It's still, like I said, still bare bones, but it's still me trying to slowly implement and put stuff in there. We got VA forms, we got DBQs on there, and you can just download them. The Nexus letters, I am going to put them, but the thing is with Nexus letters, there's a specific template that can fit all of them. So it's basically trying to find Nexus letters. The thing is that's private information. Unless it's been blotted out and stuff like that, it's hard to use that. I just want to be properly service connected for continued VA care and probably rated and compensated accordingly. I understand that, Silky, and a lot of people are like that too. A lot of people want to get compensated for what they know the service did. The problem is that people need to go about it and do their homework about it. It's not something that just magically happens. Veterans think that it's just like, oh, just because I filed for it, I'm going to get it. No, you have to prove that it happened in the service, because you got to remember, some people file right when they get out. Some people go through the BDD process. Some people wait after the whole year, after they tell you to file within that year. Some people wait decades to file something. The longer you go without filing, the harder it is to prove that it was service connected, because you don't got the documentation for it. Nobody keeps their medical records. Who here goes to a private doctor and has kept their medical records? From the private doctor, not from the military, not the medical records that they provided you, your own medical doctor. Nobody has files, barely anybody has files of that. So if you haven't filed in a long ass time, you don't have documentation showing that you've been treated for this issue for the past 10 years. Because then it's easier, like, hey, if you have documentation of your medical record showing that you got out in 2020, you didn't file till 2015. But for those 15 years, you got documentation of you going to your own private doctor and them taking care of that issue. It's kind of hard for me to know that that's where you got the issue. How do I know you didn't develop it during those 15 years? I don't know that. The VA don't know that. The VA is not just going to go off of your word. It's like that's how it is with me. When I explain stuff to y'all, it's not just off of my word. While I'm on my computer, I will show you where I'm getting this information from. Because I don't want y'all to just go off of my word. I want y'all to see where I'm getting this from, a credible source and the actual source that provides that answer. It's the same way with the VA. Y'all can't. A lot of people just think it's just like, oh yeah, they're gonna take my word for it. No. People could have gone snowboarding, messed up their back, and been like, well, the military did this to me. It's what you call fraud, but that's how it goes. The VA isn't just going to go off of your word. You have to provide the documentation. The same way you're not going to accept somebody telling you something. Well, some of y'all do, but hey, if you give me $50, I'm going to make this happen. And it's a random person. You haven't seen what it is they're going to do. Are you going to give them that $50? Chances are you're going to be like, bro, I don't know you. $50. That's a decent amount of money for me to just give you, not knowing you, and you telling me you're going to make it into this. How do I have assurances? Where do I see the documentation? Where's your plan? You know what I'm saying? It's the same way with the VA. I was just like, y'all want to file for this? Y'all want to file for that? Y'all can file for everything. The VA don't give a shit. You can file for everything. If you ain't got the documentation, you ain't do your homework, you ain't got the connecting factors, denied. Shit, even when you do, they might say denied because you dealt with somebody that was lazy. Then you got to go through the appeals process. But that's something that still happens. That's something that people need to understand. Even though you got all your ducks in a row, the VA might still say denied. You still have to fight for it. Like I said before, veterans are good at taking an L. We know what an L is, taking a loss. We know how to take a loss and we'll just keep it moving from our time in service. Now is not the time to do that anymore. Now you don't accept that loss. Now you keep fighting for it. Because the thing is you know what happened in service. You have the documentation. You have the evidence. You keep fighting for it. not just give up and be like, you know what, all right, VA, you denied it, I'm gonna leave it like that. And a lot of veterans do that. The amount of veterans that you could probably check and look at their file and look at their disability claims that got not service connected or was a no and was actually service connected, but they just decided to leave it as, you know what, they said it wasn't connected. And it's just like, you're 1 year and 1 month out of service. You good, bro. You got all that stuff. You're gonna be able to put that in there. And the thing is, you got to remember, having all this stuff service connected now, you have it. You're probably gonna get to the 100%, so you won't have to deal with it. But at the same time, for some service members, what they need to realize is you may not be at 100% now. It may be down the road. But whatever you can get service connected, you need to get service connected at the correct and proper moment. If you just got out, you need to make sure all that service connected. Because if it's not service connected, then you have the issue where it's like, you know what? This isn't there. The information isn't properly processed. Now you're going to have to fight for more at the back end, which is tedious and is more work for you when you could have done the proper thing in the first place. But the thing is most veterans don't understand that. And then you have some veterans that are basically tell veterans like, hey, the VA sucks. The VA don't know what they're doing because they got their disability claim denied. It's their whole mantra now. Now it's that whole experience that they need to pass on to everybody else to say, you know what? You failed. Well, I failed. So by all regards, now you will fail. And that's how they look at it. So it's just like, you have to be careful with that. They drove by the post office. Oh, so that's the one thing that people need to realize is just like, those are all things that it's just, you have to make sure you're doing it correctly. For veterans, they need to understand that you need to file when you have the stuff. The closer you are from getting out, you need to file. The closer it is, the better. Because the farther out you get from your ETS date, which is what sucks when it comes to like veterans from like the Vietnam era and like older veterans, they've gone so long without seeing the VA or dealing with the VA that it has caused issues, and now their service connection is difficult to connect. But the closer you are from service, it's easier because it's just like you're dealing with this now. And if you get a diagnosis for something, like you said, you're a year and 1 month out. That 1 year period, they basically give you all the stuff. They try to make it service connected because you're doing it within that year of getting out. It's like you're realizing, oh shit, I do got all this shit. But a month extra don't make it that big of a difference because now it's just like you still did it within that time period. If you do it outside of that time period, it's like it becomes a different issue. So that's something that it's just like those little nuances, I would say, is what veterans need to pick apart. Like I said, dissecting your medical records is something that is important. It's something you need to pay attention to. It's not always going to be the best thing, but it is the best thing because that's your medical records. That's what you have in service. That's what you can easily prove. But all right, y'all. I'm gonna head out. Uh, like I said, we're gonna do this for the members in the chat. We're gonna host a day where it's just gonna be like a podcast day. So it's not gonna be any Q&A, nothing to do disability wise. It's just gonna be us chatting on a certain topic basically. Um, Mike Hughes, appreciate you tuning in. Um, but yeah, we'll do that for the members. Membership is only a dollar a month if you want to choose, but it's gonna be so that way when we go live, I'll set it up that it's just as members, we're just gonna have a conversation on just like random topics. Um, we started off this live off of that, um, and it was basically talking about like some of the comments I had been receiving on the videos I had made. And it was just like explaining that and talking about that. But I think that I'm gonna just make it as a separate thing to do. Yeah, so we'll do that as a time period where it's just like it'll be just like conversations that we can have, just conversations of the topics that's going on, and not make it anything disability claims. The workshops are still every Sunday, so if you tune in on Sundays, 12 noon Central Time, it's basically like beginning free VF codes since 2000 and recently filed my first claim in September. Hey, you started the process. Scotty, you tune in, have questions. I do, like I said, every Sunday, 12 noon Central Time, Eastern Time, that's 1 o'clock. West Coast time, that's like 10 o'clock. Um, Free workshops. You have questions, we go over specific topics. Uh, we have random pop-ups like this one where we do that and take care of people. Just ask questions, people ask, stuff like that. So we'll have a workshop day where we cover specific items. We're gonna have a Q&A day where it's just gonna be like, if I do these lives, it'll probably be like Q&As, and then I will have a members only like podcast recording episode thing, so that way I'll talk on certain topics, and as members want to talk about certain things, like mentioned, I was just like, I don't have a filter on the podcast, so y'all probably see a different side of me that y'all don't see on the on the workshop thing, but that'll be something that I'll keep separate, so that way it's conversations that we have on certain items or things, so that people understand where I'm coming from and what the thought process is behind it. And then we have the regular functions. Like I said, if you haven't already, check the veteran awareness vetawarenessproject.com. We're going to keep on filling that out. Like I said, it's our website for the page, basically providing resources and information there. What else do I have to mention? Besides that, that's all I got, y'all. Y'all take care, be well. We might be back a little later on after we drop the kid off from school or to school. We'll see how that goes. But I'll catch y'all later. Y'all take care. As always, be good to one another, take care of one another, look out for one another, love one another, and stay marvelous while doing it, y'all. Cruz signing out. Peace.
Did you get to play with your new notes that we got?